Okay, here we go with the magic of technology. Good evening and welcome to the Second Century Alliance Community Update. I'm Sonia Hunsinger, I'm the Economic Development Administrator, and we host these events to keep you informed of the relevant projects that are happening in the city. So thanks for logging in tonight. We appreciate your interest. Our goal is to make sure that as many people as possible hear this information. So please don't hesitate to share it and help us spread the word about what's happening in the city. Obviously, this isn't our normal community update. In light of current circumstances, we've all had to adjust and modify the way we do things. So to that point, I'm asking your patience with the technology as we move through tonight's presentations. We're also experiencing some weather here. I don't know about you in Coatesville, but over here in Delaware County, it's actually very windy. So I'm kind of hoping that the weather we're experiencing won't interrupt the internet. But similar to our other in-person updates, we will still hold questions till the end of the program. If you're watching us on Zoom, there is a chat icon at the bottom of your screen. If you're viewing us via Facebook Live, you'll see a chat option on the right-hand side of your screen. Type in your questions or comments, and I'll curate them at the end of the program so that our presenters can answer them. I'd also like to take a minute to recognize the elected officials online with us this evening. These are really difficult times. No doubt they're working really hard to navigate these uncharted waters, and their leadership through all of these challenges is so much appreciated. A little later in the program, James Logan is going to discuss what the city's doing to address COVID-19 and how we can help support their efforts. Now, before we move on to the presenters, just a quick update on what we've been working on here at the Second Century Alliance. Our work hasn't stopped or even slowed down at all. Actually, things have changed though, and we're working to adapt and redirect our efforts towards the most need and the most impact. We're working in the residential neighborhoods to monitor how needs are changing due to the coronavirus. At the same time, we're monitoring how programs and services are changing, and then we're trying to connect the residents to reliable resources that are going to help them in real time. We're connecting with our downtown merchants, doing the same thing, finding out how they're coping, how the pandemic is impacting their businesses, how they'll be changed in the future, and how we can help them get the resources that they need to weather the storm. If you are a downtown Coatesville business owner or you know one and we have not connected with you yet, please call our offices. I'm going to give you this phone number. You can write it down. I'll also give it to you at the end of the program. 484-786-8896. You can email us through our website at secondcenturyalliance.org, or you can simply message us through Facebook so that we can help you through these challenging times and get you access to the resources that you need. And then we also continue to inch along the big projects, right? Working with the Redevelopment Authority on their active projects, which you'll hear about from Joe DeSciullo in a minute, the flats, the train station, the Gateway project, and more. Like I said at the beginning, the work hasn't stopped, hasn't even slowed down. It's just changed a lot. And the Second Century Alliance is small and nimble enough to adapt to the rapidly changing needs of our community. So as always, if you have any questions or you need anything that you think we can help you with, please don't hesitate to call, email, and let us know. So now on to the presentations. If you've attended our in-person community updates in the past, you know I'm a stickler about our 10-minute rule, but there's a lot to cover in these 4 presentations tonight. So I've relaxed that 10-minute maximum just for this program. With that, I'm going to introduce my trio, City Manager, and Mike. I'm going to take you off mute. There you go.
Thank you very much. As you mentioned earlier, Sonny, we have some technology which we're working through, and I'm going to ask Miss Lawson, who has my slides, if she could share them now, and I can run through this. I only have 5 slides, and really what I want to proceed this with is really what I want to let the citizens know. We really haven't missed a beat here in City Hall. We've been able to maintain staff levels that keep services going. Police, fire, and EMS have been very active, and we thank them for their hard work. They stay on top of all of our issues. We're able to keep all of our staff safe through the various distancing and other requirements and other recommendations from the health officials. So as far as the projects, my second slide, is just an overview of some of the projects which, if you've been following these sessions through the months, there's really a series of larger projects which I sort of indicated here in these circles. But I want to concentrate really on the next slide, which is the infrastructure, and that would be the third slide, the traffic improvements and infrastructure improvements. As you know, as many of you know, if you go back one, please, Marie, the main project that's been ongoing through the city is the intersection improvements to First Avenue and Lincoln Highway. We are probably about 40% to 50% through that as far as all the site work and construction. We have all of our permitting and all of our paperwork. It's been approved. The funding is there. We were basically coursing through at a good pace until the COVID-19 hit the project, and we are basically at a standstill. We did receive word from the governor's office that as of tomorrow, most of the construction activities restrictions will be relaxed, and the contractors and their subcontractors will be able to move forward. It was all the infrastructure work was noted as a critical or essential business, so it was continuing. But because of many of the companies have distancing and remote staff working, as well as laying off many, they're very short staffed. So our real next benchmark is to work with the utilities and be able to get Philadelphia Electric, PECO, Verizon, and Comcast back out on the street and working. With that said, our schedule will probably be into the spring, late summer now, for continuation of those construction projects. The other projects which are infrastructure streetscape is, everybody has probably noticed, the 4th Avenue project moving forward. That's a complete reconstruction and streetscape project for the area of 4th between Lincoln and the rail right of way. Latest news is they will be finishing their wearing course, which is the top course of the pavement, and the rest of their pavement markings within this week. Hopefully with the rain and some of the weather, they'll still be able to do that. So you could see sort of the feeling of, or the indication of what the streetscape will look like there on that exhibit. The trees and the brick inlay, that will be a consistent theme throughout the city. We're using that theme on all of our streets and sidewalks. That will be universally used. The type of streetscape, the type of street furniture and lighting fixtures will all be consistent throughout the city, which will unite all the public improvements. There is also a pending project, which isn't on this drawing, of a streetscape project between Lincoln Highway, on Lincoln Highway from First Avenue to 4th Avenue. That's being championed through the city in cooperation with our city engineer, Cedarville Engineering, and also Colleen Terry, managing a TIIF grant from PennDOT, which will provide funding of over $1 million to continue that streetscaping theme that you see on this exhibit. So those are things that we'll be working on through the year as the weather becomes better and as the restrictions are eased. I think we spoke probably a couple of years ago that we're probably at least a 5 to 8 year general construction schedule or term for all these projects, which will help provide infrastructure for our redevelopment. The next slide would indicate a particular project, which we all know, again, which is the Gateway. And I just wanted to update on this. This is also impacted by some of the same utilities and some of the same infrastructure, which I just mentioned. But on the short term, there's a schedule which indicates by July, all of the public services, all of the streetscape work, all of the sidewalks and all that work will be completed as part of the first phase of that project, and that's indicated on that schedule that you see insight into the plan. Just as a reminder, that's about a 32,000 square foot mixed-use development, which has been fully approved and is permitted through the city council, and funding and other actions are still working through the process. So we expect at least all the public improvements will be done here in the summertime. Next project would be, next slide, is a kind of a recap on a high level of the train station and the adjoining properties. As we know, the Third Street project and work is fully completed, which follows the same themes I mentioned earlier. As a follow-up to the streetscape work, we were able to dedicate some funding to the old train station. That funding is still in reserve. We were able to work with HBO in their production for the recent miniseries to get some improvements done to the facade, which you can see on that inset picture. There was quite an amount of investment done by HBO to get the facade of that building in great shape, replace windows, clean the facility, do some interior work. So we have a great platform to move forward on that for the city. The city does have a lease on that with Amtrak for a multiple year term. So we hope to have some additional action in that going through the year. This will augment the train station project. The RDA is championed. The PennDOT funding continues to be moving forward, and at this current time, PennDOT has stated that they expect to go to bid on this project by the end of this year, the fourth quarter. So we'll see some bidding and hopefully construction in the beginning of 2021 to move the station forward. Accompanying that is an initiative by the city, by Second Century, and the development groups to move forward on the a plan for the garage, structured garage, which is indicated on the plan also, and the accompanying private development, commercial development, and residential development, which is conceptually designed for the eastern and the western side. So those red circles on the plan show exactly where those private development sites will book in the public garage. So that's, once again, an ongoing project, and we're working hard with the stakeholders to continue to inch that forward to a completion. Next slide is an exciting slide, and I wanted to put this on here because this indicates that, once again, I mentioned that we're not holding anything up in City Hall. We're able to move through land development processing. This is the first Opportunity Zone project, which was submitted by Proudfoot Capital. It's the old Geo Crossing building at 190 West Lincoln Highway. As you can see from this architectural rendering, there'll be a significant investment in the property. They're talking in the range of about a 40,000 square foot fully developed site with existing building being totally rehabilitated, and a new R&D research center, which is indicated on the left side of that architectural drawing. Parking and other infrastructure will be included in that. We're expecting to have that through approvals in midsummer. We don't see any impediments to have this project under construction pending all the building permits before the end of this year also. So there will be continued movement on these private projects, which we will green tape, as we call it, work through the development process with the applicants and with our city officials. Everybody's behind these Opportunity Zone projects, and we are very pleased to have this first one kick off with Susan Springsteen and David Wilson. So probably be more questions on that at the end, but we want to just kind of highlight that as a private development which is working its way through the entitlement process. And I think lastly, I have one more slide. I think really just talks about the city, but really that's an update on the more or less more visual projects in the city. We have ongoing zoning hearing board applications for projects. Planning Commission continues to function. We're able to present our applications and projects through this means, through virtual means. We'll be reinitiating Planning Commission meeting in May to move forward on our land development applications, and we have already initiated all of our meetings on for council. So that started last week. So with that, that sort of gets me up to that end, Sonny. So I can turn it back over to you at this time, unless you have anything else.
No, that's right. And if there are any questions, just pop them in the chat box and we'll field them at the end of the program. I'm going to pull up Zeke now. I just lost Joe. Hold on just 1 second. There's Joe. All right, introducing Joe DeSciullo, Chair of the Redevelopment Authority. Go ahead, Joe.
You know, our mission is to take distressed properties and have them revitalized and rehabilitated for the benefit of the community. Mike already touched on a train station project, which the city and Second Century, the county, we've all been working towards that. We anticipate having PennDOT start the track work, which is the first phase, the last quarter of this year. We are working with some consultants, and we've been fortunate enough to be able to use some of the revenue derived from the rent of the flats to hire some consultants to pursue the $15 million required to build the garage. We feel the garage is critical to the two out parcels, which Mike spoke about earlier. We are having those two out parcels appraised at this time because there's been some interest in them. And the interested parties wanted to know what the selling price would be, so we're getting those appraised. We are also moving, we're hopeful to hear something on the record building, which is under agreement with Mark Sherman and his group. That we hope to have an answer from the LCB because it's contingent on getting a license. There was a hearing, I guess, just in this past week, and they requested some more information. So we are working through the LCB to get his approval to see that project get started. Mike touched on 190 West Lincoln Highway. You know, the RDA had hoped that we would have the sidewalks completed by now. Of course, at that time, we didn't know anything about the COVID-19 virus. And that kind of stopped things, but I'm sure that will be getting started soon now the construction is permissible. The other big project that the RDA is working through is the flats. We had 3 different groups offer proposals for projects on that property. At our April 16th Zoom meeting, virtual meeting, and we took those projects, held an executive session, prepared a list of questions for each of the projects, and had our solicitor submit those to the presenters. We anticipate those answers to be back next week. The RDA board will then meet again to evaluate the information that we get back. I am not certain that we will be prepared to make a decision at our May 18th board meeting because the information is going to come back next week. We will need to schedule another meeting prior to the May 18th meeting. So we're working on it. We realize it's the last big parcel in the city. It's critical to the redevelopment of the downtown. We feel the project needs to bring people into the city to assist with supporting what will happen from 1st to 3rd Avenue as those properties are revitalized and new businesses open there. So we don't want to be hasty in our decision. We want to take our time and try to do the best job we can in vetting the proposals and make a selection. So we've been pretty busy, and I'd like to thank Sonny for setting this Zoom up. You know, City Hall I think closed the 15th of March. That was when our meeting was supposed to happen, and we were kind of in a quandary, and we were going to have a meeting up at the hotel on the 30th, and they closed. So these virtual meetings have allowed us to continue to do business during this tough time.
Thanks, Joe. And again, we'll take questions in the chat room if anybody has them for either Mike or Joe at this point. And now we're going to bring up Josh Burrell of Activated Capital. 1 second, need to find him.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. And well, thank you, Sonny, and really appreciate the invitation to give some thoughts onto what we've been up to and what's been keeping us busy these last few weeks to, I guess, about a month now. But let me try to see if I can share my screen and this works. Technology is always great when it works. So essentially, and I don't know how much many of you may know about St. Stan's on West Lincoln, you know, just downtown, actually near the flats, it's a church that I believe it's been about vacant for about a year now. And so what we've been up to is essentially, it's my team, Activated Capital and New Heritage Properties, have gone through the process of acquiring the church through the archdiocese, but the plan is to redevelop it, and you know, the entire goal is to try to stay active and to continue to look towards the future and come out of this stronger than what we came into this. So when we look at St. Stan's, it was a ton of potential, so much architecture and history there. The building itself is over 100 years old, over 15,000 square feet relative within the church, the school, and the rectory. So there's 3 separate buildings. And I'll get to this a little bit later into the slides, but essentially we will look to convert that into a performing arts academy, an event center, and then a hotel. So as we go through these slides, and again, happy to go through it, but we are currently in construction. And so it was an old school. And with that, there was a lot of desks. I would probably say, and you know, Chris will certainly chastise me for this, but 100 to 150 kids' desks that were basically in great condition. They weren't being used. And as the time hit with Corona and home and virtual learning, it really struck us that there's possibly a use for these in the homes of having a flat, stable, clean surface to learn from. So being able to have to focus on studying at home full time relative to maybe after hours on the weekends, it's a big change for anyone, and especially for kids. So what we did as, you know, as a group, and again, I would like to just thank all of the volunteers that when I pitched this and when we brought this up, we kind of just wanted to say, you know, if you're willing to drive down and drop these desks off on the porches of people's homes, there's no interaction necessary. We will try to wipe them down to create as much of a sanitary surface as a starting point. But so Dominic Macalino and you know, the police and then also fire were involved as well, and they helped us deliver over 100 desks in and around the Coatesville area. I think we're still getting more and more requests, and I apologize if it's taken so long to get back in touch. We are working as quickly and as safely as possible to get these out, but essentially it's exactly that. And we just wanted to create that flat, stable surface for kids to be able to really, that this means business, and you know, create some good study habits. And this is where all of the desks were there. So again, thank you for all of the volunteers. There's still more to go. So if you have reached out and we have not got back to you, I apologize. We are just working as quickly and as safely as possible. And please feel free to sign up on the, I believe it's still on the police website, but we're happy to share a link then too. You know, more on the renovation, which we're currently in the process to, and this is not, here we go. So these are projects in which we will look to open within the next few months, not years. And so, as you can see, there's a ton of work, and the team, Chris, Crosby, are just working around the clock, and again, as safely and as efficiently as possible, giving the requirement to be able to work, and just being mindful of the 6-foot rule. But we're looking to be open the June to July area, and Revival Productions and Heather's group are really excited. So I have some more slides there. But when you just look at this will be when we talk about the Performing Arts Academy. So in large part, it is fairly set up already for classrooms. And so we'll continue that classroom theme as it once was, not necessarily have to redevelop the entire thing, but utilize the existing structure, but in a modern way. And so, and again, Heather will be able to articulate her vision much better than I can, but there's going to be summer camps and classes. And again, when we come out of this, hopefully stronger, there will be folks that are interested in getting, and it's not just for kids, but all ages enrolled in different programs, arts, and as you can see, a lot of options, tons of scholarship applications, different volunteer potential. And again, I can't speak justice to Heather's passion and dedication and in her groups to this, but if we can give any sort of support, that would be great. And again, I think we're all going to be looking forward to having a stable, strong place to have that summer camp, and then just take our kids and families too. That's really the crux of it. There's different support for the Revival Productions. There's also, it's a 503c nonprofit, which again is that pitch to being able to support by donations, which will be tax deductible. There's a lot of benefits for having that donation campaign and having that tax benefit happen now and not later. But these are just some of the things that we're able to try to do now, and again, start thinking about the future as much as we can today. And so, with that, we really want to come out of this stronger. So Mr. Activated, and I believe he's on, but he'll be able to provide youth meditation programs completely complimentary for any kids that are open and willing to have their parents sign up. And then also just some of the programs that he's put together that's complimentary on the website for free to help just have that inner fire, to keep that fire going throughout this time. Again, we're working as quickly and as tirelessly as possible. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate you letting us talk about some of the projects.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. And again, anybody who has any questions for Josh, just pop them into the chat, and we'll move on here with James Logan. James, I can't unmute you. There you go. Okay.
Okay. I guess someone needs to take down their screen because I can't see my screen.
Josh, can you take your screen off?
Hey, there you go.
There we go.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank everyone that's on this particular presentation and meeting tonight. I think I just lost my face, but can you guys still see me?
We can't see your screen. Are you sharing your screen?
Hold on. Let me get back down. You're right about technology.
Takes a little getting used to.
Yep. Let's see. How's that?
There we go.
Good. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
All right, great. So again, thanks, Sunny, for putting this together tonight. Really appreciate it. And again, hello to everyone out there. It's nice to see some familiar faces. And, I just continue to pray that we'll all be in the same room, maybe a little distance from each other, but hopefully we'll all be in the same room in a few months from now. What I'm going to do is just kind of go through more of what's happening in the city in relation to the virus itself, our relationship and partnership with the county, city officials, nonprofit organizations, and everyone that's just been wonderful in their support to make sure that we keep our residents protected, safe, and not infected by this pandemic. So one of the things that I've been looking at is just how the news of the COVID virus has been presented throughout the country and throughout our county as well. And everyone is handling this pandemic differently. But I can assure you that our county officials, our city leaders, our council members, they are all very concerned about all of our citizens and residents. And certainly for me and many others like yourself, we have a special interest in this great city of Coatesville. So what I like to do is just kind of, share some facts. There's a lot of rumors going around that, Coatesville is not going to get testing sites, and, the virus itself is running rampant in the community. No one knows. I mean, I don't know where some of these rumors are started, but very few of us are doctors, and very few of us are the healthcare experts. And we do have some people on the front line that are actually there to find out what's going on, and they are the first responders, and those are the ones that we should be relying on for this information. But one of the things that we can do as a city and as a community is just start with ourselves. How do we protect ourselves? How do we keep people safe? And the way to do that is this, just looking at this slide right here. It's just having, folks wear your mask, distance yourself, wash your hands. The actions that you take will definitely impact our city. And you really have to take that to heart, because, COVID, as we all know, it has no boundaries. It doesn't stop at Valley or Callan. This virus moves very quickly. And sometimes as we're just out and about, and I've seen it, I was just going over to Rite Aid the other morning. There was 4 guys out there just hanging out, and they had masks, but they were about 2 feet from each other, sharing a cigarette. And I looked at them. I said, if you guys need a mask, I got a couple of masks in my car. But they didn't want one. So we just have to be vigilant, and we have to stay in front of people and let people know that it's important to follow the steps. Keep the social distancing so we can beat this. One of the things that we're trying to do, and we do every day, if you go to our website, we are constantly updating our website on information. And this particular slide right here, this is the county's website. If anyone out there is not sure what information you need from our local businesses, as you can see here, there's information on for businesses on COVID. There's been a lot of grant money that's being given to small business owners. We have a number of small businesses in Coatesville. You need to take advantage of this. But if you don't know where to get the information from, you won't have access to it. So I encourage you to go to your local, either your Chamber of Commerce, which we have a wonderful Chamber of Commerce, the Western Chester County Chamber. They have information on there for small businesses. You can see right here on the county website, they have information regarding small businesses, along with other things that are going on in Chester County. We have a number of companies that have stepped forward. They're doing everything from making masks to sanitizing, hand sanitizer, to ventilators. So the county itself is definitely very motivated to keep people safe and keep people healthy. If you are not sure where to call for information regarding COVID, you can see the phone number right here on the screen. That's the Chester County Health Department. The number is 610-344-6225. They will give you information on testing, if you have symptoms, any COVID-related questions that you may have. Can I get it through, rubbing up against someone? Or if I walk out of my house in the morning, will I get it because the wind is blowing? They will have answers to those questions for you. Also on their website, they will have the latest information in various languages, which is very important. And if you look at the kind of the menu on the far right there with the FAQ, frequently asked questions, as you can see, they have, frequently asked questions, how to wear a mask, testing information. All of that is there, and as I said, in multiple languages and in Spanish. And I'm just going to stop here real quick on the Spanish. We have got to get the information out to our Spanish community and our Latino community. There has been some concern about the number of residents that live in Coatesville that are Latino. They may not be getting this information. If you happen to have a network that you can tap into, or if you happen to have friends that are bilingual, please let them know there are resources out there, and they can tap into them just like any other resident in the community. So let's continue to get this word out there and the information out there as well. Now, on to the big thing that people have been talking about. And the big question is, when are testing sites coming to Coatesville? Well, that's a good question. That's a $64,000 question. And as I mentioned earlier, our county commissioners are working hard. Our county health department is working hard. Everyone's working hard to identify testing sites, testing kits. We have some folks that are on the Zoom tonight, private citizens that are taking the charge, taking the lead, and identifying resources. We thank you all for that. And we're going to get the testing sites here. We're looking at some very creative things that they're doing in Philadelphia with some of the churches, and the actual testing and getting them into the communities, as we all are trying to do. I mean, all of our municipalities, all of our townships, we have all asked the question, when are the sites coming? But there is a process, ladies and gentlemen, and getting the kits is one thing, but actually getting the kits processed, that's another thing. So we have to get to the point where we have the kits, we have the resources to get the kits processed, and then we can get the results out to you. That is coming, and I wish I can be a little bit more, direct and give you a date, but I don't have a date for you. But we will have testing sites soon. I don't want to say next week or the week after that, but I do know that we're working on it, and we're going to have those sites for you pretty soon. Regarding the social distancing, some of you have commented about the curfew that we recently put in place. The curfew was put in place to do what this diagram is showing right here. That's to flatten the line. Since the curfew has been in place, which is simply, you at 8 o'clock, we're asking folks to move about the community, maybe go inside. There is a mandate and an order right now from the governor, stay in place or stay at home. What we're trying to do is we're just, trying to make sure that people are distancing themselves and protecting themselves. But the reality is, the numbers show that when we have the distancing, it does reduce the number of infections. So it's working. And ladies and gentlemen, you out there in Coatesville that are doing this, we thank you for it, because our numbers, they're climbing, but their numbers are relatively low in comparison to other areas. So we just got to continue to stay the course, keep the distancing down. For all of you cool daddies and cool mommies out there that are struggling with fabrics and the mask and what mask to wear, you know what? Just be considerate. You walk in the store, you got to put your mask on. It's not really an inconvenience if you look at the lives it will save. I see a lot of people still walking up and down the street in Coatesville without a mask. There are masks that are being given out at different locations. If you don't know any, please call City Hall. We can tell you where some of the masks can be had. We even have our local police officers. If they see you on the street, I know a few of them have some extra ones. They've been handing those masks out. So we don't have a shortage of masks. We just have a shortage of people wearing them. And And for those of you who don't know how to wear your mask, there is an actual way or a little, diagram here to show you. And check this out. Now, I was watching one guy try to put on his mask, and he had it on his forehead, he had it on top of his head. But this is how you do it. Can you guys see that? Isn't that a beautiful mask?
We can't see you, James. We're still looking at your screen.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep it on.
We can hear that you put a mask on, though.
So here's how you put one on. Very easy. Wash your hands before you put one on and after you take it off. If you have a reusable mask, you should definitely wash it after you have gone out, for a couple of hours, just to be on the safe side. A lot of information that I'm talking about also can be, you can access through our website, www.coatesville.org. Excuse me. We have some information on there in Spanish, but if you go to where it says click here and the data maps, that will take you to a screen that looks like this. This actually is the most recent screenshot that I have based on the number of cases in Coatesville. And as you can see here, we have 44 cases. It's showing that no deaths are there. I don't want to get into the details of how deaths are recorded, but it is an investigation that is completed by the coroners and the county health department. Once those investigations are completed, then that particular number is reported onto this particular report sheet here, or data sheet here. So we are getting to the phase right now where we're going to be reopening, and what is that going to look like? Reimagining what opening of our county, of our cities, of our municipalities is going to look like. The CDC, state and regional hospitals rate, obviously they must decline. Right now they're pretty high. So the governor recently put another order in place to reflect what the various levels are going to be to relax or to reopen various communities and various cities. But we got to get to this particular threshold in about 14 days. As I said, we are working with our county commissioners and the county health department on monitoring those numbers. I'm going to show those numbers to you in a minute here. And we're going to constantly monitor the numbers and keep the information out to you all, so you know that that it's safe to go outside and again enjoy some of the restaurants that we have here, some of the businesses that we have here. We do want to get people back to work. I mean, that's our big priority, aside from keeping you healthy. So we're definitely going to be working on that. This particular slide here shows the reopening phases that the governor has in place for us. Right now, of course, we're at red. We want to get those numbers down over this 14-day period. And even then, folks, we're going to be reopening in phases. We're just not going to, everything's going to be open and business as usual. We really have to take a hard look of how we're going to do this. And we're going to rely on employers to step up their game to protect their patrons and their employees. And you patrons out there, we're going to rely on you to, when you go into these local businesses, that you are gloved up, masked up, and you're not sick. So this is something that requires, support and an effort on both sides. And we just hope everyone will continue to do this. Even when it gets great, even when they find a cure, we still may want to wear a mask every now and then just to be on the safe side. I want to share with everyone how much our council members care. We are constantly on the phone with them. They feel the pain that everyone feels. We know that we have loved ones out there that are not working right now, or laid off, or working part-time. There are a number of us that have the luxury you can work from home. But the reality is we do live in a society and a community where everyone can't work from home. So we do care about you. We want to get you back to work, and certainly if we can continue to flatten the line and improve our efforts in reducing this pandemic, we will get people back to work. There is a formula that the governor is using to look at where we're going to be in 14 days. That formula is they take the target numbers, or they take the population of the county. Our population here is 522,000. You take that population and you divide it by the population of the county. They're using 100,000. And then they get the number, which is, you can see here, 5.22. You take that number and you multiply it by 50. And you get the current numbers, as you can see here, as of 4/24, our current numbers for the county was 736 cases, which is a daily average of 53. Our target numbers over the next 14 days is to get to 261. That's a daily average of 18.64. That's your little 8-year-old running around the house there. But those are the numbers that we want to get to. Now, I'm not a math genius, but I tried something out here, decided to see what the Coatesville number would look like. So we have approximately 13,100 residents in the 19320. So I did that calculation that's kind of at the bottom there. And if we do what we should be doing, staying in place, distancing ourselves, washing our hands, staying healthy, our daily average is going to be about 10 to 14. That's the number that we want to hit as a community here. I know we can do it. We're going to be monitoring this. You know, I just think that, you know, I'm excited about the possibilities once we hit these numbers of what we're going to be doing after that and getting people out. And just keep these numbers in mind, ladies and gentlemen. These are the numbers that we want to hit on a weekly basis. In closing, you know, Mike talked about, you know, the things that are going on in the community. Joe talked about, you know, what's happening on the flats and other projects in the community. We are a great community. A lot of pride in our community, a lot of leadership. We're grimy, we're gritty. We are laid back, motivated. I mean, we are so many things, and those are the things that we have to continue to build on. And you know, we have great housing stock. We're going to be working on a couple of housing initiative, first-time buyer programs. We are on the rise, and one of the things I just want to leave you with before I get out of here. And I'm glad you can't see me because I'm playing with my phone now. Just want to read this to you all. For all those who have lost loved ones during this pandemic, for those of you who cannot experience complete closure, for those of you who are struggling with stress, depression, anxiety, and despair, for those heroes that get up each morning to heal the sick, help the poor, provide for their families, for those who have laid off or been laid off, but are finding time to bond with their children and reinvent themselves, for those who take advantage of those less fortunate and those who see the less fortunate as they see themselves. We all are living out these days together. You're not alone, you're not isolated, and you're certainly not being judged. Remember that this is our collective inner strength that helps us overcome trials and tribulations. Our lives have been changed in a way that we never could have imagined. But now it's the time to imagine hope. And again, think about what hope has done for you. This is hope. This is hope right here, ladies and gentlemen. A city of people from all walks of life, living, sharing, growing, and rising. So, let's keep hope going. Let's keep Coatesville rising. I'll turn it back over to you, Sonny.
Thank you very much, James. Appreciate all that information on what the city's doing to address the pandemic, and appreciate those words at the very end too. I think they're meaningful and very helpful. I am going to look through the chat here. I've been kind of doing it all the way along, and there was some connection made here between a possible tenant and St. Stan's, so that's a plus. I would say that this program has been a success if that works out.
That's great.
But that's about it. We did have some technical difficulties getting us to live stream on Facebook. I got a couple of texts during the program that said it was not coming through on Facebook. Fonz, if you're listening, I'm going to have to get a couple lessons from you on how to do this right. Anyway, I have been recording, and so what I will do is upload the entire program to our Facebook page, so you won't be able to watch it obviously in real time, but it will be up there. It will live up there for the foreseeable future. I want to thank all of our presenters once again. I also want to just put, well, I'm still sharing James's screen. I was just going to put our email, our website up. Just it's www.secondcenturyalliance.org. And our phone number once again is 484-786-8896. So if you have any questions whatsoever, give us a call, message us through Facebook, and thank you, Carmen. Carmen says we all appreciate the update. So all the best to all of you. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay home. What is it? Stay safe, stay home, and wear those masks and wash those hands. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Good night, everyone.